Chaik had grown used to the silence in his flat. 3 years had passed since the funeral, yet the echo of Ngozi's laughter still lingered in corners of the house, woven into the fabric of curtains she once picked, trapped in the smell of spices in the kitchen she loved. He had accepted her death the way one accepts an incurable scar, painful at first, but dulling with time until it became part of him. Every morning, he drove to his shop at Cemetery Road, managed his sales of electrical parts, and returned home to an empty bed. Routine became survival. His friends urged him to remarry, but he always said the same thing. How do you remarry when your heart has not healed? That Saturday afternoon had started like any other. The humidity in Aba wrapped the city in a heavy blanket. An Ariaria market buzzed with its usual chaos, hawkers shouting, traders bargaining, the air thick with a mixture of sweat, roasted corn, and petrol fumes from nearby generators. Chaik went there to buy spare wiring for a large contract. He moved through the crowd with practiced ease, nodding at familiar faces, avoiding pickpockets, focused only on his purchase. But then, something made him stop mid-step. He saw her. A woman carrying a bag of vegetables walked past him. His heart skipped. He turned, blinking rapidly, convinced the humidity was playing tricks on his vision. But she was there, Ngozi. The tilt of her head, the dimple that appeared when she frowned, even the tiny scar above her left eyebrow from a childhood fall. Chaik felt the air leave his lungs. For a moment, the noise of the market drowned into silence. His body froze, yet his mind screamed. She was supposed to be dead, buried, mourned, and gone forever. He tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was a look-alike. Aba was big enough for coincidences. But then, she spoke. Just a simple phrase to the tomato seller, her voice clear and familiar, the exact same rhythm he had heard 1,000 times in his dreams. His knees weakened, and he grabbed the edge of a nearby stall to steady himself. His chest thudded painfully, as if it would burst. The voice wasn't similar, it was hers. Chaik's first instinct was disbelief, but disbelief quickly gave way to something stronger, something raw. He stepped forward, weaving through the crowd, eyes locked on her. She seemed to sense someone watching, because she glanced back. Their eyes met. Time froze. Her pupils widened in shock, the way a child reacts when caught in a forbidden act. She didn't smile. She didn't greet. She turned sharply and started walking faster, almost breaking into a run. Chaik's heart pounded louder than the market noise. He pushed past bodies, ignoring the curses thrown his way. "Ngozi!" he called, the name tearing from his throat before he could stop it. Heads turned. Traders paused their haggling. Some laughed, thinking it was just a man mistaking someone. But Chaik knew. He couldn't be wrong. His legs moved faster, driven by desperation. He finally caught up with her at a corner where the crowd thinned. He grabbed her wrist. The world tilted in that instant. The warmth of her skin, the subtle fragrance of shea butter she used to love, confirmed everything. This was no ghost, no hallucination. She was real, alive, and standing before him. The woman froze. Slowly, she turned to face him fully. Her lips trembled. For a split second, there was a flicker of recognition in her eyes, a silent acknowledgement of the bond they once shared. But then it vanished, replaced by fear. She yanked her wrist, but he held on, his grip trembling yet unyielding. "Ngozi!" His voice cracked, filled with grief, anger, and longing. How are you alive?" Her eyes darted around, scanning the faces of the onlookers who had started gathering, whispering among themselves. Aba was a city of sharp tongues, and news traveled faster than Harmattan fire. She swallowed hard, her breathing uneven. "I don't know you," she whispered, though her eyes betrayed her words. Chaik felt a rush of emotions crash against him: pain, confusion, disbelief, and the faintest glimmer of hope. He had buried her with his own hands, cried at her graveside, and spent sleepless nights imagining this very moment. Yet, nothing could have prepared him for the reality of seeing her again in the middle of Aba Market, alive when she was meant to be dead. For the first time in 3 years, His heart no longer felt empty. It felt like a ticking bomb. Chaik's hand trembled as he held her wrist, his voice raw and unsteady. People around them had already started slowing down, some pretending to shop while keeping their eyes fixed on the scene. Abba Market was never short of drama, but this was different. The whispers started small and then grew louder. Some muttered prayers, others gasped, and a few laughed nervously, saying it must be a case of mistaken identity. But Chaik's eyes never wavered. He stared at the woman before him, his heart torn between rage and desperate longing. She tried to pull her hand free, her body stiff with unease. Her eyes darted to the crowd gathering, then back to Chaik's face. There was no denying it, she recognized him too, and that recognition carried a weight she couldn't hide. Her lips quivered as if she wanted to speak but was afraid of the words that would follow. "Please, let me go," she said softly, her voice breaking. But that soft plea only fueled Chaik's confusion. How could she stand before him, breathing, her skin warm, when he had thrown dirt on her coffin with his own hands 3 years ago? His chest tightened, his throat dry, but he refused to loosen his grip. "Gozi," he whispered again, disbelief dripping from his tongue. "I buried you. I stood over your grave. What is this? Tell me what is happening." The crowd grew bolder. A woman selling onions nearby crossed herself and muttered that the dead had risen. A man carrying cartons laughed nervously, telling everyone it was probably just a twin sister or a distant relative. But an elderly trader leaned forward, squinting her eyes and shaking her head. "That's her," the woman said loudly. "That's Gozi. I sold pepper to her before she died. God in heaven, this is her." The murmurs became a low rumble, and the weight of the eyes pressing in made Nosy shift uneasily. Her breathing grew faster, and then she finally managed to jerk her hand free. She took a step back, clutching her bag tightly to her chest. "You have the wrong person," she said louder this time, her voice firmer, as though rehearsed. "I don't know you. Please, leave me alone." Her words struck Chaik like a hammer. He shook his head violently, almost laughing in disbelief. "Wrong person?" he repeated, his voice trembling. "You think I don't know my own wife? You think I can't recognize the woman I loved? The woman I buried? Look at me, Ngozi. Look at me and tell me the truth." Her eyes softened for a brief moment, and in that flicker of hesitation, Chaik saw everything: the shared years, the memories, the secrets they carried together. That hesitation was the proof he needed. She was lying, and the lie was heavier than anything he could bear. The crowd edged closer now, phones beginning to rise, cameras ready to record what was quickly becoming a spectacle. Abba Market thrived on stories, and this one was too strange to ignore. A man near the front of the gathering shook his head. "If this woman is truly dead, then what are we seeing here? Spirit or flesh?" Ngozi's face tightened. She scanned the crowd, panic rising in her features, her shoulders tense, as though she might run again. Chaik noticed it and stepped closer, lowering his voice so only she could hear. "If you run, I'll follow. If you deny me here, I'll find you again. I won't stop until I know the truth." Her lips parted as if to argue, but instead, she swallowed hard and looked away. The fear in her eyes was no longer just about being recognized. It was about something deeper, something dangerous. Chaik could feel it. This wasn't a simple reunion. Something else was buried in her silence. Something that made her prefer strangers, thinking she was a ghost, to admitting the truth aloud. A sudden shout from the back of the crowd startled everyone. A trader, irritated by the disruption, called for them to take their quarrel elsewhere. That gave her the chance she needed. In a flash, Ngozi slipped sideways through a small gap between stalls and bolted. Chaik cursed under his breath and tore after her, pushing through startled shoppers, his mind spinning with questions that had no answers. As he ran, one thought repeated itself like a drumbeat in his chest. If Ngozi was alive, then everything he had believed for the past 3 years, every tear, every prayer at her grave, every lonely night had been built on a lie. And the truth, whatever it was about to turn his world upside down. Chaik finally caught up with her in a quiet alley just off Falk's Road. She had stopped running, her chest heaving as she leaned against a wall, clutching her bag tightly. The market noise was still faintly audible, but here it was just the two of them. Chaik's breath came in ragged gasps, not just from the chase but from the storm raging inside him. He stood before her, sweat trickling down his face, his eyes searching hers desperately. "Ngozi," he said, his voice hoarse, "you owe me the truth. No more running, no more lies. You are alive. Tell me why." Her shoulders slumped, as though the fight had drained out of her. She looked away, her lips trembling, then finally turned back to face him. The tears welling in her eyes confirmed what he had feared and hoped in equal measure. This was no hallucination. It was her. "I didn't die, Chaik," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I never died." The words hit him like a blow. He staggered back a step, shaking his head as memories of the funeral washed over him, the coffin lowered into the ground, the cries of mourners, the endless condolence visits. He remembered the weight of sand in his hands as he dropped it on her grave. All of it had been real, or so he thought. "What do you mean you never died?" he asked, his voice trembling. "We buried you. I saw your body." She closed her eyes and wiped at her tears, but they kept falling. "What you buried wasn't me. My family, they staged it. They had no choice. I was in danger." Chaik's chest tightened as confusion battled anger. "Danger? From who?" She hesitated, glancing around the alley as if shadows could still hold enemies. "I was being hunted," she said finally. "A powerful man. Someone I got too close to while working on a project. I found out things I shouldn't have, things that could destroy him. When he realized, he came after me. My family knew the only way to save me was to make him believe I was already gone. They faked everything, the accident, the burial, all of it." Chaik felt as if the ground had been ripped from beneath his feet. He paced a few steps away, pressing his hands against his head. 3 years, he said in a broken voice. 3 years I mourned you. I lost myself. Do you know what that did to me? Do you know the emptiness I carried every single day?" Ngozi sobbed quietly, her hands shaking as she tried to reach for him. "I wanted to come back, but I couldn't. It wasn't safe. Every day I longed to see you, but if I returned, they would have killed both of us. I had to live like a ghost, hiding under a new name, pretending the world I knew didn't exist." The weight of her confession pressed on him, and for a long moment, neither of them spoke. The air between them carried years of pain, love, and unanswered questions. Finally, Chaik turned to face her, his eyes red. "And now? Why are you here in Aba? Why let yourself be seen?" "I thought I was safe," she whispered. "I thought after all these years, he had forgotten. I came to start over, to rebuild a life. I never expected to run into you." Silence stretched. Chaik's heart battled itself. Half of him wanted to hold her tightly, never let go, reclaim what he had lost. The other half seethed with anger, with betrayal for being left in the dark, forced to bury a wife who had never truly left. He stepped closer, his voice low but steady. "So, what happens now, Ngozi? Do we pretend the last 3 years never happened? Do we pick up where we left off? Or do you disappear again and leave me with another grave to carry?" Her tears streamed freely as she looked at him. "I don't know," she admitted. "I only know that I still love you. That never changed. But if I stay with you, it means facing everything I ran from. It means putting you in danger." The wind carried distant sounds of the market, but here in the alley, it felt as though the world had paused, waiting for their decision. Chaik's heart pounded as he searched her face for the truth. He saw love there, but he also saw fear. Fear of a storm that might come crashing down on them both if they dared to be together again. He exhaled slowly, the weight of choice pressing down on him. "You've stolen 3 years from me," he said softly, "but you're still the woman I vowed to love. If there's danger, then we face it together. I can't bury you a second time." Ngozi's sob turned into a gasp as she covered her mouth, her body trembling at his words. For the first time since the confrontation began, a flicker of hope lit her eyes. She reached out, and this time Chaik didn't pull away. He held her hand tightly, as if anchoring her back to the life she had once left behind. But deep inside, he knew this was only the beginning. By finding her again, he had reopened a door that powerful men had once forced shut. And now that door would bring consequences neither of them could yet imagine. Their reunion was not just about love reclaimed, it was a spark that could set off a firestorm.
Don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe for more teachable and inspiring folk tales by FE.